How many ghosts and entities were really in this place? One night, my family is having this sort of reminiscent discussion. It's my mom and dad and me, and we are reminiscing and discussing this time back in, I would say, was between 1997 and 1999. They had a paper route, and there were plastic bags that the papers went in. And one year, dude, Pizza Hut did this coupon thing where they put coupons on the plastic bag. We cut a bunch of them out and, kept them back in the back of the junk drawer that was in the kitchen. Every now and then we'd take one to Pizza Hut, and there was no expiration date, so they would just honor it and just give us, the food and not, ask any questions. They take the coupon, and we just thought it was kind of funny, but after like a year or two, we didn't try that shit no more and just forgot about it and stuff. And this night we were discussing this and reminiscing about a lot of things, but that was one of them, right, dude? So the next morning, okay, my mom comes into us and she's like, did one of you put this in my laundry? Like, she found it, I think, either in the load of laundry she was doing in the washing machine or in the dryer. And it was one of these plastic bag coupons, one of these plastic bag Pizza Hut coupons that lived in the back of the junk drawer. So nobody put it in there, and we had been talking about it the night before. So that suggests that something was listening. Something was listening, and not only was that something listening, but it had the knowledge of where these coupons were in the house, and it was like suggesting that it remembered, you know what I mean, like that whole era of like 97, and now it was 2004 or 5, right? So that put like a time on it. And it was these types of experiences and phenomena, things moving by themselves and just this weird shit, right, that I had previously attributed to the familiar. But when I think about it, I mean, I was introduced to the familiar in, 2001, 2002. So it's like any of that type of phenomena that happened before that. Like, because as far as I knew, dude, the familiar was never there before, like, I was introduced to it. So was it even the same thing? And was the familiar there all along? So these entities, it's like, I separate them from ghosts because they can move shit around and stuff like that. Like, they can affect physical reality, you know what I mean? I'm unclear on whether ghosts can or not, and I separate ghosts from apparitions. I don't consider ghosts and apparitions to necessarily be the same thing, because I think that apparitions' capabilities of interaction and affecting the physical world are like even less than a ghost's. I've lived in several places, since growing up there in that building, and I have seen ghosts in these other houses that I've lived in. I've heard things and I've seen ghosts. But when you're talking about objects moving by themselves and hearing shit, that's entity territory, in my opinion. And I have never been anywhere else that had that going on. My childhood home was the only place I've ever lived where I experienced entity activity. I honestly think you're more likely to see a ghost than you are to live somewhere where this phenomena of things moving by themselves and other strange shit, like, you're more likely to just straight up see a ghost or something. That connector part right there, that was like original to this building. In 1908, it was already there. So it had nothing to do with this building. That's it. And so it had a door on this front side of it. It's like it got another story built on top of it or something. Like, I think these were built in front of that section of the building that sticks out from the side. And I always considered that crossroads room to like not be a part of this building. It was creepy Okay, like it was creepy, like some middle part shit, dude. And the things that I was telling you about yesterday that happened to that young family when they lived with us in that bedroom that was mine and stuff, that shit, that creepy shit that happened to them was giving middle part. Fucking with, making babies all freaked out and shit and staring at the ceiling screaming, and that was some middle part shit, dude, for real. My point in even thinking about that last night was that door to the apartment here, the single story thing that was forged out of the space between these two buildings that had previously been open space. That door always opened and shut on its own. It would make sense that there was a door there, like for the whole time in the history of this building, basically, because think about it. This building, sorry. But yeah, like this is 1908, this is 1910. Look at this whole big long section here between these buildings. Of course there's gonna be a door that faces this way. And that fucking door, dude, like all the time, just opening and shutting, dude, knob turning and everything type shit. And it makes sense now that I think about how it must have been an open area at one time, and there must have been a lot of traffic that just went out that door, and you know what I mean? And then that for them to like wall it in and make this weird ass creepy as shit fucking creepy apartment. I was thinking, man, they had to have done that at the same time when they built these shitty one-story buildings on the front of the house, and then they put this kind of roof overhang over the back of the building, and this one too, probably. And it was such a huge mistake, and it was such a horrible thing to do to this property that it's no wonder the vibes were so fucking whack in that one-story middle section right there. Ain't no fucking surprise, dude. I think that they didn't like it very much. Because think about it, if that had been an open area previously, it was like basically like a courtyard, basically. It was probably not very big of an area necessarily, but dude, it was probably, there's probably seating of some type, you could sit down, and maybe there was a table, maybe there was, maybe it was pretty even at one point in time in the history of this building from 1908, 1910. Maybe that was a pretty area, right? And then they fucking walled it in. Are you joking? I'd have been pissed too. And another thing about these entities, dude, is like, take Raj, for example. Okay, all Raj ever wanted, first of all, like, for the first, damn near 11 years of me knowing about Raj and of Raj, and granted, he really did only pop back up, like when I was like 13 and so on. It's like he was there that entire time. All Raj ever wanted, man, was cuddles. Like, Raj really just wanted cuddles. You know what I'm saying? He's not like a whole ass fucking being. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that he's not. I don't know, dude. The vibe I get and I always got was that Raj was just a little fractal, like a little piece of a disembodied soul that was able to communicate with me. And, that's all that he has been, you know what I mean? And all that he wanted was just some cuddles. He just wanted to ultimately to live in a teddy bear body and get cuddles, and that's it. Like, he wasn't really up to much else. Raj is not the one moving shit around, okay? Because if Raj was the one moving shit around, then he'd still be doing that. I have never had a recurrence of any of this phenomena, like with regards to things moving by themselves and stuff. No matter where I've lived, even if there was a ghost or a couple ghosts there, never had that happen. As a society, as a people, as humanity, how are we going to forge forward when we're not even taking into account all of this stuff that's going around us in the unseen? We need to discuss this and figure it out, or try to figure it out. Give it some type of like acknowledgement. I was also thinking, where I grew up, creepy. Like, where I grew up, okay, it makes sense that some of the other places that I lived in, especially that 100-year-old house I lived in, it makes sense why I didn't think it was creepy, even though it was totally creepy. and then like anybody else could see it was creepy. It's just because I grew up here, okay, that I just wasn't really like, I didn't really see it that way. Ghost Hunters, the TV show back in the day when it was like it took off, dude. I don't even remember what year that shit was, but Ghost Hunters took the fuck off, dude. And they contacted us and asked us if they could come and film, you know, like an episode there. And my parents ultimately did not let them do that. And it is a skip ahead chronologically to be telling you that Ghost Hunters wanted to do an episode there, but I will be touching back on that later when I explain to you some of these photo shoots with the orbs, right? Some of the orb photo shoots, because these orb photo shoots took place in like 2007. We were just trying to figure out, like, will we be able to see ghosts or something, or orbs or whatever? Like, can we catch anything on film? Can we catch anything on camera? And so, just for example, here's an orb photo. This is me standing in front of my bathroom door in my bedroom, and there's an orb up there. You know what I mean? And that's like that's a thick orb, dude. Like, that's like a strong orb up there. You know what I mean? Now, me personally, I still don't know exactly how I necessarily feel about orbs, but like when I see some shit like that, dude, like there's a difference, because there's other orbs in this picture. There's a difference between that orb, okay? Yeah, you can barely see this one. Like there's one like there, right there, okay? There's a difference between that orb and that orb. So back to an attempt to try to go chronologically. When I was like 13 or 14, dude, one night I was walking up the stairs, like everybody else had gone to bed, and my parents slept upstairs at that time. And so the last person to, you know, go upstairs and go to bed and stuff, it was their job to turn the light off, you know, in the stairway room. I turned this light off, and I'm walking up the stairs mostly in the dark, because the only light there really was like the light coming from the big window at the top of the stairs. And I hear this woman's voice from a distance call my name, okay? Anastasia. I stop on the stairs, and I'm thinking, that can't be, because if somebody's calling my name, they're not gonna be calling me that, and that's not my mom's voice, okay? And what no voice I recognized either, right? It was not, you know what I mean? But it was a voice, an audible voice, and it called my name, dude. And I stood there on the stairs and thought about the probability or possibility of that actually being anybody. And I don't know, I was like, yeah, in a whisper, dude. Literally, it makes no sense to even reply to that. You know what I'm saying? Especially in just like a whisper, dude. But I was like, yeah. And then I just got up the rest of the stairs as fast as I could, to be honest with you. And it wasn't like ominous or anything. It didn't sound mean or weird or like, you know, bad or something. It's kind of fucking trolly, you know, to do that, some shit like that. But I thought about it, you know, like maybe they were trying to protect me or something, because maybe I was like not being as careful as I could be going up the stairs. But then at the same time, it's kind of like, but then you scare the shit out of me and make me bolt. That sounds like even more dangerous, you know what I'm saying? So I don't really know what the purpose of that voice was calling me. But yeah, dude, just a ton of shit like that happened. And a woman's voice too. That's weird, you know, because I mean, other people, you know, had experiences with spirits that they thought were probably female, but like for me, like I basically didn't, dude. Like I pretty much, it was always, to me, it always seemed like male spirits that I was encountering, you know, except for the one ghost, dude, that I saw a couple times. Like that was a female, pretty sure, because of that instance where, you know, with the plastic bag coupons. It makes me doubt that the phenomena was related to the familiar and the vision of the boy. Does the timeline add up? You know, if this entity remembered things from the late 90s and had been listening, you know, that whole entire time, because the fucking message behind that is that I've been here the entire time, and I've been listening to you and watching you, and I've been among you the entire time. How could that be the familiar? How could that be the same, you know, entity? that means that there were like even more characters there than I originally like thought, you know, because I knew there were a lot of ghosts, because you know that's like you see that all the time, and you there's just a bunch of different ones, and they are in various forms, apparitions, regular ghosts, stuff like that. Like you see that, and you know that's a thing, right? But it's like, and you know there's a lot of that going on, but the entities capable of other things than just being a ghost sighting and stuff, like I was just always under the impression that there were only like a couple, like there were only like two or something. And to come to these other conclusions, or to think I might be coming to these other conclusions, because, you know, it makes sense because I've never talked about this. Some of the phenomena that the entity became, you know, known to be capable of doing, like, was that kind of stuff going on like the whole time that I lived there? Even in the middle part? Fuck yeah. Uh-huh. It was the whole time. It was going on. Like I thought I knew what was up and who was responsible and who was doing what. You know, I thought I knew, but maybe I didn't know. Regardless of any of these classifications, regardless of whether they're like the same thing or not, it is at least possible for a fragment of your identity that is connected to your soul to hang on here and to be accessible for your consciousness through space and time. I'll be telling you the experiences that I straight up had and the things that went down, okay? And then once I have told you like the whole thing, down to past the time when my childhood home burnt down, and then we're going to go into theorizing. That's what I'm going to call it. We're going to go into theorizing after that point. And we're going to get into, when I say theorizing, I'm saying that I'm going to share some theories that I have that go way back and that I concluded a long time ago, and maybe even some that I conclude now from these sessions and the things uncovered in these sessions. Ultimately, I'm going to tell you my intentions with this whole entire thing, why I'm doing what I'm doing, what my intentions are, what I want it to be about, what I want it to be, right? What I think it should be, what I think it's supposed to be, to not make things right and not serve justice to anything. It's not like that, but it is something that I feel should exist and should perpetuate. It's important for us to discuss these things. It's important for us to talk about this phenomena, to understand it better, to make an effort to understand it better, to be rational and logical and not be afraid to talk about this phenomena. We can't do that anymore. As a society, as humanity, as the human race that's trying to progress to these great heights, like you can't get there unless you cover this ground. Okay, that's what I sincerely think.